So today we will be learning about group by method. What is group by method in Python? And then we will learn how to deal with NaN values. NaN stands for not a number. So let's begin with group by. First, I will make a data frame for myself. First and the foremost thing, import the library. Then I'm creating a data frame. Okay. So carefully see what is present in the data frame. The names of the column are company, person, and sales. Okay. There are three unique companies present, namely Google, Microsoft, and Facebook, and each one of them has two rows. So, what does group by function do? Using group by method, it is used to group rows together based off a column name. This will get more clear when we will see an example. Let's say I want to group the rows by the company. Say df dot group by company. What this will do, this will create an object whose name is data frame group by object. Now we will perform operations over this object. Say I want mean, I will type it, okay. I want mean of sales for each company. So how can I do that? I will simply do df dot group by group by company dot mean. See, what you are getting is you are getting the mean of sales for each and every unique company present in the column company. Okay. For example, mean of 243 and 350 comes out to be 296.5. Similarly for Google and Microsoft. So in this way, using group by method, you can group the items or group the elements which are present in a particular column. Here, I have selected column as company. Similarly, you can perform other operations too, like df dot, I will just copy this from here. I want the maximum sale for each company. So the maximum sale performed for Facebook is 350 by Sarah. Then for Google, it is 200. And for Microsoft, it is 350. Similarly, you can use min function. If you want description of each attribute, then you can even do that. Say describe. See, using describe, you got the description for the column sales. So the count for each company is 2, as it is clearly visible from the table. The rows for each company is 2. Then you get other statistical analysis. You get mean, you get standard deviation, minimum, maximum, and the 3 quantiles. Suppose I add a new company in it, add a new column in it. Df new, say, how many are there? 6. Yeah, I've added a column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in it. Now let's try to do describe. What happened is you got description for sales and for new column. But if you want description of specific column, then you can mention that column name. How? df dot group by company and mention the name of the column you want. Say I want analysis of only sales. So I will mention the name sales and then describe. So in this way, you get the description of only sales. So I hope everything is going good up till now. If there is any doubt, then please post them in the chat window. Our team will help you out. So using group by, it is very handy when you have multiple data. When you have multiple data, but the data is not repeated in the data frame. Say the rows are not exact in the data frame. So you can get statistical analysis of each and every unique data present in the column which is selected. So we will be using group by a lot in upcoming sessions. Now let's see how to apply functions. Apply user defined functions. We applied max, min, std. These are built-in functions which are present in Python. But how to use user defined functions? Say I have defined a function def x. Wait, the name of the function is say square. I take a value x and I return x into x. So I want to perform this over the data. So what I will do, df, select the column over which you want to apply the data. Say I want to apply it over new. Okay, I want to apply it over new. Then I will use apply method in Python. Apply, and then write the name of the function which you want to apply. Here, the name of the function is square. Okay, it's SQUA. Typing mistake, sorry. See, you can see, I will show you the data frame. The new column consisted of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What the square function has done, it has squared the numbers 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, and 36. Similarly, you select any column and you apply the any function you want. But can we write this function in one line? Okay, I always insist writing the codes in one entire line. So how can we write the same code in one line? So for that, we'll be using lambda function. Lambda function was covered in first session. If you don't know what lambda function is, you can refer the notebooks and recordings for the first session. Okay. Okay. It will take a variable x, and what I want to return, I want to return x into x. Let's see. See, it has returned square of all the input which is given to it. Okay. We will take one more example of lambda. Say, what is my data frame? Okay. This is the name of the person. This is the name of the person. I want to create a new data frame such that the person's name don't contain the letter say E. Okay, please see the question carefully. I want to create a new data frame such that the person's name don't contain the letter E. So all the words which contains the letter E should be removed. So for that, again, I will have to select which column. I have to select person's column. Person. Now apply function over it. Okay, apply function over it. So let's try to write it in one line. Lambda. I will take name as input. Name is just a variable. You can use any variable name here. Okay, name. The name should not contain the letter E. So I can use E not in name. So this gave me all the values. This gave me true and false. True means that does not contain, that E is not present in the name, and false means the condition has been false. Now, if I want a data frame out of it, I want this in the form of a data frame. Then what I will do, I will just create a new data frame here. See, so this itself is a data frame. What this function is what this lambda function is returning, it is returning true or false. If this condition is true, then it returns true, or it returns false. Then we got a values true and false here. But I want a data frame out of it. So I created a data frame out of it. And thus we have got all the names which don't contain the letter E. I hope this is clear. We will be using lambda functions in assignment too, so you will get more handy to it. Okay, sure, let's continue. Okay, let's see sort underscore values. We saw sort underscore values yesterday also. I will take a new data frame now, okay, so that we get a good data to operate on. I am taking a new data frame. Here the names of the column are the keys present in this dictionary. So column 1, column 2, column 3. Okay. Now I want to sort the values. Okay. So which method do we use? Sort underscore values. What I want to sort, suppose I want to sort column 1, then I will use by. I want to sort by column 1. Mention the name of the column which you want to sort. But try to understand, I want to sort this in descending order. If I want to sort this in descending order, then there is an attribute in sort underscore values called ascending, and we will set it to false. What this will do is our ascending order is set to false. This means it will set in descending order. Let's see. Yeah, the column 1 has been sorted in descending order. But now, if I try to print the data frame again, it consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, which is in ascending order. What can be concluded from this is the sort underscore values does not make changes in the calling variable. Okay, this itself is a data frame, and it makes changes in that only. So if you want to reflect the changes in the calling variable also, you will have to mention the keyword in place. In place equal to true. See, if you print the variable df, now it has made changes in the original data frame. Okay, so I will again sort it back. Okay, so we have got our original data set again. So this part was left yesterday, that's why I covered it today. So now let's begin with data pre-processing, and in this part we will learn how to deal with NaN values, what are null values, and how can you replace those null values. Okay, so let's see. I will take a data set. I will take another data set for that. I'm creating a new data set for that so that we get the appropriate data to work upon. Sorry. Df equal to pd dot data frame random. I will generate a 5 by 4 matrix. I want index names as A, B, C, D, E. I will split it so that it becomes a list. I want column names as W, X, Y, Z. Again, I will split it to make a list. Okay, here we go. This is our data frame, 5 rows and 4 columns. Suppose I write this condition, df greater than 0. What you get? You get a data frame of true and false. If the value present at a respective location is greater than 0, then it will return true, else it will return false. Now, I want to create a data frame out of it. So what I will do, df, okay. So we have got a data frame. So all the values which are greater than 0, they are returned as it is, and the negative value, 0 or negative values, they are returned as NaN. What this NaN means, NaN stands for not a number. Okay, if any data type is of any invalid data type, or it is a string or it's a character, it gets returned as NaN. Or if the condition gets false and the data type doesn't match, then the number gets returned as NaN. So how to deal with NaN values? Firstly, let's check. Okay, I will store it in a variable, say df, and now I will call. See, I will print the data frame first. See,
Saurabh,
huh?
slow.
Okay, okay, I will go a bit slow. I will explain again. See, df greater than 0. All the elements, all the numbers which are greater than 0, those will be returned as it is, and the numbers which are 0 or less than that, it will be returned as NaN. Why? Because that condition has got false and there is no valid element present at that location. That's why that location is null and it is represented as NaN. Okay, NaN stands for not a number. So this data frame is small, but if you have a large data frame, then how will you check where are the null values present? So to check if there are null values in your data frame, you can use the function is null. Okay, pass the variable or the data frame name dot is null method, and this will return true if NaN values are present. See, compare this data frame with this. All the locations which have NaN are returned as true, and all the locations which have numbers, they are returned as false. Obviously, because they are numbers. That's why there are no null values at this location. Okay. So how to drop these NaN values? These NaN values are not good for our data frame. Okay, before you apply any machine learning algorithm or do further operations, these NaN values will trouble you because it will give error for invalid data types. So it is not good to have these NaN values. So what you can do is you can drop the entire row which contain NaN values, or you can replace those NaN values with some other thing. I will repeat again. There are two ways to deal with NaN. Firstly, you can drop the entire row which contains NaN value, or you can replace the NaN value with some other value. See, let's see how. If I want to replace it, then I will use fill NA, and say you can pass anything with what you want to replace it. See, using df.fillNA method, I passed the string hello. So all the NaN values got replaced with hello, hello, hello. Okay. Instead, you can pass a number also. If you want to do any mathematical operation, say I pass 0. See, all the NaN values got filled with 0. Otherwise, I could have filled it with 1. Okay. So is it clear up till now how to fill or replace NaN values? Okay. Now let's see how to drop the rows. If you want, if you want to drop the entire row which contains NaN value, then for that we use drop Na method. So df dot drop Na. What you are receiving is a null data frame or an empty data frame. Why you are getting an empty data frame is because check this data frame. NaN value is present in each and every row. Can you see NaN value is present in each and every row? So what drop Na is doing? It is removing all the rows which contains at least one NaN. Okay, I will repeat. Drop Na drops all the rows or removes all the rows which contains at least one NaN. Here in our case, all the rows consist of at least one NaN. That is the reason drop Na is dropping all the rows and you are getting an empty data frame. Okay. So instead of drop Na, it's better to use fill Na. You can fill it with mean of the values which are present in the rows, or you can fill it with zeros according to the problem statement which you are given. Okay. So should we go ahead? I hope what is NaN, how to deal with NaN is clear. Now let's see how to deal with duplicate values. I will take another data frame for it. Df equal to pd dot data frame boxes. See, these are very important in case of data pre-processing, because before applying the machine learning algorithm, you should have your data cleaned so that it may generate good results. Okay, we'll print the data frame. See, this is our data frame. It looks good, but there's a problem in this data frame. Can you see there are duplicate entries present in this data frame? See, yellow square, red rectangle, red rectangle. So by looking at this, you will not think that it is any problem, but it increases computational time. Okay, so instead of having those duplicate entries, you have a method in pandas called df dot drop underscore duplicates. Df dot drop underscore duplicates. So as it is clearly visible from the output, it has dropped the duplicate rows. But if you can see here, green has not been removed. Why? Because this is not a duplicate row. Green has circle as corresponding shape, and here in second row, green has oval as corresponding shape. So these two rows are not different. Try to understand. These two rows are different. These two rows are not similar. That is why it has not been removed by df dot drop underscore duplicates. If I print the data frame again, you can see the duplicate entries has again come up. Now, if you want that this changes should be reflected back in original data frame also, so I think you have guessed what should be written here. In place equal to true. See, I have printed my data frame and it has made the changes in my original data frame. Okay, so this is how we deal with duplicate columns. So I think we have completed the pandas which is required. In 5 minutes, we will be starting with the assignments. Okay, I have uploaded banklist.csv file Please download it and save it in your directory. I am uploading the assignment right now. Okay. Okay, now let's have a quick recap of what we have done. First of all, we started with series. Series is a one-dimensional data structure. Yes, series you can consider it as 1D array or a 1D list. You can create a series using pd dot series method present in pandas, and you pass the list or the item of which you want to make the series. Here you can pass it as list, you can pass it a numpy array, or you can pass it a dictionary. In case of dictionary, the indices will be the keys and the values will be the data in the series. So by default, the indices are 0, 1, and 2, that are integers. But if you want, you can change those labels by passing index equal to labels or a list of the variables or the names which you want to keep as the indices name. Then yeah, we created a series out of an array, then dictionary. Then we saw operations on series. See, if I have two series, this is my first series, okay? It consists of 1, 2, 3, 4. Its indices are USA, Germany, USSR, and Japan. Similarly, I have a second series 1, 2, 5, and 4, and its indices are USA, Germany, Italy, and Japan. So if I perform series 1 plus series 2, then it will add the elements which are present at the respective indices, and it will give NaN if the respective index is not found in either of the series. So here Italy was not present in series 1, so that is why it returned NaN. So similarly, we can perform subtraction, multiplication, and division too. Then we saw data frame, pandas data frames. Yeah, what is a data frame? Data frame is a two-dimensional data structure. You can consider it like a table consisting of many rows and columns, with each column may or may not have different data types. So someone asked me why did I use this line np random.seed? What does it mean? Okay, whenever we use random function, this random generates a random number every time. But if you want me and you all to have the same random numbers, then we can use the seed method present in random. Using seed, you can get the same random numbers as mine. Just note that you have to use the same number which I have written here. Okay, so random generated a 5 by 4 matrix. So if you want to select any column, you can use W or pass the column name. If you want to select a list of columns, then you have to pass a list of column names to the data frame. Suppose I want to select W and Z, then I passed a list of column names here, W and Z, so that I can get only these two columns. You can also select column name by dot method. This is SQL syntax. So we selected W and we got its respective values. If we check type, type function is used to check the type of the variable or the object, then you can see that it comes out to be series, because we saw a diagram yesterday that series plus series gives a data frame. You can imagine one column of a data frame to be a series. So now we can add a new column in a data frame by mathematical operations, or you can just pass a list of variables which you want. Then if I print that data frame, I got the new column. Then if you want to drop columns, I want to drop this new column. So what I will do, I will pass the column name and axis equal to 1. If you remember, axis equal to 1 is for columns and axis equal to 0 is for rows. Okay. Now the df.drop will drop the column from this data frame. But if you want the changes to be reflected in our original data frame, then you have to mention in place equal to true. So in this way, your original data frame will also get affected. Then if you want to drop rows, then as I said earlier, you use access equal to 0 and pass the row number. So you can see E column has dropped. Again, I have not mentioned in place equal to true because I don't want to make changes in original data frame. Now, if you want to select rows, you can do it using lock df.lock and pass a list of row names which you want to select. Suppose I want to select A and C, then I will pass here A comma C. But sometimes the row names can be large. So instead of passing the names of the rows, you can also select them by using their index number. So if I pass index 2, for that I will use df.ilock. Using ilock, pass the index number of the row which you want to select. Here 2 means third row. Why third row? Because indexing starts from 0, 0, 1 and 2. So it is the C row, if you can see, minus 2.7. Yeah, see, this is the Cth row. The name of the row is C. Now, if you want to select subset of rows and columns, then you pass the name of row, comma, pass the name of column. So this element is present in bth row and yth column. Suppose you want a subset matrix out of the original data frame, then pass list of row names which you want, comma, list of column names. In this way, you will get the subset data frame. But if you don't want to pass the name of the rows and columns, you can also use ilock. Using ilock 0 colon 4. What this means, I want to select all the rows starting from 0 till third row. Why third row? Because this last number is not included. So it will select rows 0, 1, 2 and 3. So A, B, C and D got selected. Suppose you want to select row and columns. You want to select all the rows, then just mention colon, comma, 2 to minus 1. What this will do? This will select the rows starting from 2 till the end. So 2, 3. How many rows did we have? Yeah, 0, 1, 2 and 3. So as last one is not included, that is why only 0, 1 and 2, this Y got selected, as you can see in the output. Then conditional selection says this is my data frame, df greater than 0. I mentioned it few minutes before. What it returns true for the elements which satisfy this condition and either false. So if I want to create a data frame out of it, I will use df. Then I will get NaN values for the elements which don't satisfy this condition. Then if you want to apply condition over a particular column, then select that column and see, apply the condition, you will get the respective result. Now, after getting this result, if you want to display only yth column, if you want to display only a particular column, then mention that column name here. So in output, you will get this condition satisfied as well as the column which you have passed in this bracket. So here I'm getting only the yth row. You can compare it with this one. Now, again, if I want multiple rows, multiple columns, I'm sorry, then pass list of column names which you want to see in the output. So I have passed y and x, you are getting y and x. If you have multiple conditions, then you can use logical operators such as and or not, and using those you can concatenate the operations or the conditions and generate out the result. So this was done yesterday. Then today we saw group by. What is group by? Group by is used to group rows together based off a column name. These are my rows, okay, and this is my column. So suppose I want to group these elements. So what I will do, I will group by company. Company is my column name. So this will create a group by object. So you can perform operations over this group by object. Suppose I want main, then I will pass the main function to it. Then I will get main for each and every unique element present in that column. This is the main advantage of group by. You can perform operations for each unique entity present in the column. Okay. So similarly, you can perform standard deviation. You can perform count. What is the count of the elements for each and every unique value? Then describe. It gives the statistical analysis. Then describe. You took transpose of it. If you can see this count main, this is present on this x-axis and FB, Google, MS, Microsoft on y. So using transpose, you just flip those axes, and then again you can use selection. You can use the selection to select a particular row or column. So then we will see, we saw operations. What is unique? Unique gives an array of all the unique numbers, all the unique entities present in the column. N unique, N unique gives the number of unique elements present in that column. Here it is 3. Value underscore counts. This counts the particular value or the frequency of every unique value present in that column. Value underscore count gives the frequency. Then we saw, okay, we did this conditional operations. Yeah, suppose we want to apply functions, apply user defined functions. Then you can use the apply method present in pandas and pass the column name. Each and every element, each and every element of this, where okay, each and every element of that column will be passed to this function and will get return. So 1 2 3 4 was the input, I guess, and you are getting times 2 means x into 2. So 1 into 2 2. Similarly, it's getting multiplied by 2. Similarly, you can apply length function. Length function will give the length of the element present in that column. Sum is used to calculate the, it is used to calculate the summation of all the elements. Similarly, yeah, so df dot columns will give you all the names of the column. Df dot index will give you the indices present in the data frame. So this is our data frame. Sort underscore values, it is used to sort the values. By which column you want to sort, mention the column name. If you want to sort by multiple columns, then pass a list of columns, say column 1 comma column 3. So what this will do, first it will sort by this, and if these two values are similar, then it will sort by this. And if you want to sort it in descending order, then pass ascending equal to false. This will false. This will sort it in descending order. So if there are any NaN values in our data frame, then is null will return true if there are any NaN values. In this data set, there are no NaN, that's why it is returning all false. Then drop NA is used to drop all the rows which contain at least one NaN value. Again, it doesn't have any NaN, that's why we are getting complete data frame. If you want, you can fill the NaN values with something else. For that, we use df dot fill na and pass anything with which you want to fill. So here, this was our data set. NaN was present here and here. It got filled with fill or anything which we pass here. So that was all we covered. So can we start with the assignment now? I hope everyone has downloaded the assignment and the banklist.csv dataset. Okay, so let us begin with the assignment. For those who have not yet downloaded the assignment, please, I'm giving you a minute for that. Now,
Yes.
yeah. So the question is import pandas and read in the
One
banklist.csv.
request, just zoom in when you are explaining the assignments because they are also solving, right?
Hmm. I think first one everyone has done. We use pd.read_csv and pass the name of the file. See, you got the data frame present here. If the CSV file is not present in the directory of your notebook, then you will have to provide the complete path, that the directory name colon slash folder name. So okay. So this is our data set. I will explain you what this data set is for. This data set contains all the names of the banks which are failed in America. So these are the names of the banks which are failed. They are located in which city, state. These are the abbreviation for states. And this is the CART number. These are the institutions which are acquired by these banks. Okay, and these are the dates on which they are closed. So perform this one now. Show the head of the data frame. Again, I will give you some 10 seconds for that. This is not at all difficult. Okay, so let's see. My data frame name is DF. Wait, I will store it in banks. I think it's mentioned banks. Bank list should be into a data frame called banks. I will rename it as banks. Okay, so banks is a variable name. I want the head of the data frame, so we use head method, and you get the first 5 entries present in the banks dataset. So what are the column names? Again, you have a built-in method for that. I will give you 10 seconds for it. So we have banks dot columns. So banks dot columns give you all the names of the column which are present in your data frame. Now try this one. How many states, that means ST, are represented in this data set? I will give you again some 30 seconds for this. How many unique states are there in this data set? To give you a hint, we have n unique method for that. Use it. Okay, so banks, I will select states because I want the count of states. And how many unique states are there? I want the count of the unique states. So basically, I want number of unique states. So I will use n unique. This will give me 44. There are 44 unique states present in my dataset. Now, get a list or array of all the states in the dataset. Again, 30 seconds. Okay, so we use unique method here. Banks, I want a list of all the states. So I will select the column st and use unique method. What does unique do? It will give me array of all the states which are present in the dataset. So that was what asked in the question, get a list or array of all the states in the dataset. Now solve this one. What are the top 5 states with most failed banks? I will give you 3 minutes for that. Try to write the code in one line, okay? Try to write the code in one line. What are the top 5 states with most failed banks? Our dataset has a list of the banks in which and the city and states in which they are failed in. So you have to find the top 5 states in which the most number of banks have failed. So to give you a hint, you will have to sort it by descending order, obviously, and you will have to group it by states. Try to write the code in one line. Has anyone done it? Okay, let's see how to do it. I want the top 5 states, means maximum top 5 states in which most number of banks have failed. So I will have to group it by states. I will show you why. Banks dot group by st, and let's see the count of the elements. See, I have grouped my data frame with respect to states. So I am getting these values with respect to every unique state present in this column. So there are 7 banks. This count method is giving me these values. Okay. There are 7 banks which are failed in AL. There are 3 banks which are failed in AR. Similarly, 16 in AZ, 41 in CA. Now you want top 5 of them. So you will have to sort them in descending order. So to sort in descending order, I will use sort underscore values, pass the name of column, comma. For descending, We use ascending equal to false. Okay. See, using this, we got it sorted in descending order. So A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the top 5 states. So to get this top 5, can I use head method? Because I want this top 5, right? So I can use head method. See, I got this top 5 states, but I don't want these all to be displayed. So again, I will pass the name of the column, and that's all. This information is enough for me. I have got this top 5 states in which, and a number of banks in which they are failed. Okay. So what are the top 5 acquiring institutions? Do this. Again, 3 minutes. This is quite simpler one. I hope you are getting what I'm explaining. Writing this code in one line can prove difficult at first time, but it will surely help you further. Okay. Okay, so there's a question on chat window. I didn't get the purpose of count there. See, I first grouped by states. Now I want to count the number of banks which have failed in that state. So for that purpose, I'm using count method. That's fine. What are the top 5 acquiring institutions? Okay, so by this time you should have done it. Banks, I will select acquiring institutions, but try to understand its acquiring institutions name is quite big. So instead I will use iloc, and I want all rows. And what is the column number of acquiring institutions? It is 0, 1, 2, 3. So I will pass 3 here. So this is acquiring institutions. What I want to do, top 5. So again, instead of sorting it in descending order, you can also use value underscore counts. Wait a minute. This acquiring institution? No, wait a minute. Okay, it is fourth column, sorry. Yeah, these are our acquiring institutions. Now, if I want top 5 of them, check what you get by using value underscore counts. Value underscore counts will give you the count of, or the frequency of the every unique element present in that column, as I said earlier. So there are 31 entries which don't have any acquirer. Then there are 12 entries which have State Bank and Trust Company as acquiring institutions. So I want top 5 acquiring institutions. Try to understand, in this case, I can't use head function. If I use head, it will give me no acquirer as the first acquiring institution, but this is not any acquiring institution. Okay, so the 5 acquiring institutions will be these one. So for this, again you will use, again I will use iloc and select 1 to 6. 5, 6, because this last number is not included, so it will give me 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So these are my top 5 acquired institutions. Is it clear? Okay, so let's go to the next one. Again, this is quite easy. there are multiple conditions in this question, so use of logical operators is expected. From now on, questions will be a bit lengthy, so I will give more time for them. How many banks has the State Bank of Texas acquired? State Bank of Texas is the acquiring institution. So how many banks have acquired that bank? And how many of those are in Texas? Come on. Okay, so let's see how to do it. How many banks has acquired the State Bank of Texas? So I can use condition. I can use banks. I will select banks dot ilog all rows and fourth column. As you know that acquiring institutions was the fourth column, and that should be equal to State Bank of Texas. So let's see. So this has given me all the institutions, uh, all the banks which have acquired State Bank of Texas. But still the answer is incomplete. How many of them are in Texas? As we can see, we have this bank in Texas. So we will use and logical operator. You will have to use brackets here, okay? And ST, that means I will select banks dot ST equal to, what is the code for Texas? It is TX. See, we have got the bank which has acquired S Bank, State Bank of Texas, and it is located in Texas. So try out this one. What is the most common city in state CA for a bank to fail in? I give you 5 minutes for this because okay, this is lengthy. try to break this problem in smaller parts. Okay, solve those smaller parts one by one and then try to combine it in single line. This will become easier. Yeah, I will show the above code for Texas. Good. Here you can also mention in brackets acquiring institution, but that name is quite big, so I'm using iLock. Try this one. What is the most common city in state California for a bank to fail in? This is a bit similar to the question which we solved above. What are the top 5 states with the most failed bank? Here, the state is already given. You have to select the city present in that state in which most number of banks have failed. If you want, I will show you its code. What are the top 5 states with most failed banks? Here's the code. Okay, so let's see what is the most common city in state CA. So first of all, I have to select state as CA. So bank, so banks dot state equal to CA. Okay, so first part is done. I have selected all CA. Now I will have to group by city. Group by city. Now let's check count of how many banks have failed in that cities. See, I have grouped by city. So now this analysis will be given for each unique city present in this column. So as you can see, using count function, I have got how many banks have failed in Bakersfield, in Calabasas, in Chico. Now I want the city in which most number of banks have failed with the maximum value. So if I use max here, this will give me the value in this will give me the value means 4, but will not give me the name of the city. For that, I will sort the cities in descending order. So I will sort by say bank name in descending order. So for descending, use false. So we got the value 4, which is for Los Angeles, but we want only the first entry. So I will use head 1. See, we've got Los Angeles. This was a bit trickier one, but it will get easier through practice. Try this one out. How many banks don't have the word bank in their name? Don't worry if you don't get it at first place. Even I didn't get it. But the most important thing is you should enjoy solving those problems. You should enjoy this coding. In this question, you have to check how many banks or how many failed banks don't have word bank in their name. So you will have to use your own function for this. And if you want to write this in one line, you will have to use lambda function. Try writing this code. If anyone has completed, then you can raise your hand. Okay, so let's see how many failed banks. You need the count of failed banks. So first of all, let me select a column bank name. Banks, bank name. You can even use ilog here. Now, on this bank name, I want to apply my own function. So for that, I will use apply method, then lambda. I will take input as name, and what I don't want is bank in the name. So bank not in name. This will return me true or false. If this condition is true, it will return true, or else false. Let's see. These are the bank name. These are the bank names. Or this is the first column. The first name was, say, let me check. Fayette County Bank. This was the first name. Its name consists of the word bank. That is why it is returned as false. All the banks which have name bank in their name, those will be returned as false. Now I want how many failed banks don't have it. So I want to find the sum of true values. So I will use sum. So this sum will give me the count of true values. So here there are 14 banks which don't have word bank in their name. I hope this is clear. Try next one. I will explain again what I did in previous code. First of all, I selected the column bank name. Hello. Okay. First of all, I selected the column bank name. On that name, I want to perform my own operation. I want to perform my own function. So for that, we will use apply method. And what that method or the function is, that the word bank should not be present in that name. This variable name is nothing but the entries of this column. So all the names which don't have the word bank in this column will be returned as true. So I want the count of all the true values. So for that, I am using sum. Why sum? Because as you know, true value has true variable has true data type has the value 1. So it is counting all the ones, and sum of those ones come out to be 14. So basically, this is the count of all the banks which satisfy this. Try this one. It is very similar. How many bank names start with letter S? Again, your own function, perform operation on bank names. Yeah, Siddhant has given the answer. It's absolutely correct. Okay, so let's say this is very similar to the previous question. Okay, I will just copy it from here. See, again, I want to perform operation on bank name. So I will select the column bank name, and because I want to use my own function, so I am using the method apply. But now the function is that how many bank names start with letter S. So name of 0, the first letter of the word name should be equal to S. But try to understand, it can also be small s or it can be capital S. So what I will do, even if it is lowercase or uppercase, I will convert it to upper. See, even if it starts with lower case letter or uppercase letter, I am converting it to upper, and just I will compare it once with capital S. If this condition is true, it will return me true. This function will return true, else it will return false. So all the names which begin with S, those are returned with true. So I am just counting the number of true values. So true value has value 1. So this function is again adding all the ones present in the output, which comes out to be 53. Though this is a simpler one. How many cert values are about 20,000? This is much simple. I will give you a minute for that. Okay, by this time you should have done this. It is very simple. For cert, first I will select that column. I will pass the column name, and I want it to be greater than 20,000. This will return me true or false. See, you can see in the output, this is return me true or false. If this condition is true, then it will return as true, else it will return false. But I want sum of all the true values. So what I will do, just make use of sum function. So all the true values, 1111, they got added up and gave me result 417. This was very simple as compared to previous questions. So get ahead with this one. How many bank names consist of just two words? The entries in bank names column should consist only of two words. How will you count the number of words present in the name? Again, you will have to use your own function for that, and to write it in one line, use lambda function. Give it a try. I will give you, say, 2 minutes for that. Come on, try this out. This is the last question of the day. If anyone has got it, then please raise your hand. First of all, I want to operate. Okay, wait. Yeah. First of all, I want to operate on bank name. So what I will do, I will select the column bank name. Yeah. Okay. Bank name column is selected. Now I will apply my own function. For that, I will use apply method, and I will use lambda function for it. Lambda, the name of the variable, I will take it as name. Now see carefully. The name variable should consist only of two words. So is there a way we can count the number of words? Have you used split method? See, try to understand. Length method will give me the length of the variable, say length of the name. But if I pass a list in this length, then what will it give me? The number of elements present in that list. Am I right? Suppose I pass a list 1 comma 2. This will give me 2 because the length of this list is 2. So can you generate list of the name of the bank? So to do that, I will pass name dot split. So what will it do? The split by default considers delimiter as space. So it will split all the number, sorry, it will split all the data present in that string name by spaces, and length will give me the length of that list. Here I want length of that list to be equal to 2. So I will equate it to 2. Check this. All the names which have name greater than 2 words, they will be returned as false, and all the names which have 2 words in their name will be returned as true. So if I show you the data set, see, check this. First bank has three words, then again this has 3. Proficio bank, this has 2 words. So see, third column should have true. Can you see third column is true because it has only 2 words in its name. I will explain again what it has done here. I splitted the name and converted it to list. That list will consist of all the words which are present in the name. Now I am passing length function to it. Sorry, I am passing that list to a length function. Length function will give me the length of the list. But here I want that length to be 2. So if this condition is true, it will return me true. Else it will return me false. But now I want the number of those banks. How many? So again, I have to count the number of true values, pass the sum function, and you get 114. So 114 banks have names which contain two words. So I hope it is clear enough. If someone wants me to explain the solution again, please raise your hand. No one? Is it clear enough? Okay. So the last question, this is a bonus question for you. How many banks closed in the year 2008? Try this. This can be done with the help of datetime library too, or you can use string slicing also. Because see, just give it a try at home. You can slice the date. This is a string, okay? So you can slice it and compare it with 2008, and so you can do it in that way. Otherwise, we have datetime library in Python too. So give it a try, and all the best.